Something is about to change in your life, and it's going to affect your finances in a way you didn't expect. Pause for a moment. Feel that, because deep down, you already sense it, don't you? There's been a shift in the air, something subtle, something you can't quite explain. Maybe it started with a feeling you couldn't shake, or a thought that kept returning again and again, whispering that something bigger is on its way. This is not a coincidence. You didn't just stumble across this message. Out of millions of voices, out of endless distractions, you're here, right now, hearing these exact words. That doesn't happen by accident. God brought you here for a reason, and whether you're ready to accept it or not, something is already in motion. Look back at everything you've been through lately. The confusion, the delays, the moments when nothing made sense. Times when it felt like doors were closing. When opportunities slipped through your fingers. When you questioned why things weren't working out the way you planned. You may have even wondered if you were being overlooked, forgotten, left behind. But what if I told you that none of it was wasted? What if every setback, every moment of struggle, every time you felt financially stuck or uncertain, was actually preparing you for something you couldn't see yet? Because here's the truth. Most people won't tell you. Before a major financial shift enters your life, everything tends to feel uncertain. It's almost like life starts rearranging itself behind the scenes. Things that once felt stable begin to feel temporary. People, habits, even mindsets start shifting. And in the middle of it, you're left wondering, what's going on? Why everything feels so unpredictable? That's not chaos, that's preparation. You see, when something significant is about to change, especially something connected to your finances, it doesn't just appear out of nowhere. There's a process, a quiet, unseen process, where your environment, your thinking, and even your energy are being aligned for what's coming next. And right now, you are in that process. Think about the signs. Have you been feeling a sudden urge to do something different, to take a step you were too afraid to take before? Maybe ideas have been coming to you out of nowhere. Ideas that feel bigger than you, almost like they were placed in your mind for a reason. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe things have slowed down. Maybe you've been forced to pause, to wait, to sit in a space where nothing seems to be happening. And it's frustrating, because you want movement, you want progress, you want answers. But even that stillness has a purpose, because sometimes, before a financial breakthrough, there has to be a moment of stillness, a moment where you're being asked to trust, even when you don't fully understand. And that's where most people lose it. They walk away too soon. They doubt. They panic. They go back to what's familiar, even if it keeps them stuck. But you're still here. You're still listening. That means something. It means you're being positioned. There's a reason why. You've been feeling this tension, this quiet pressure building inside you. It's not random. It's not meaningless. It's a signal. A sign that something is shifting beneath the surface. Something that's going to touch your life in a very real, very tangible way. Especially when it comes to your finances. But here's where it gets deeper. This shift isn't just about money. It's about alignment. It's about timing. It's about stepping into a version of your life that you couldn't access before now. And that requires change, not just around you, but within you. That's why things have felt different lately. That's why you've been questioning more, thinking more, feeling more, because you're being prepared. And whether you realize it or not, you're closer than you've ever been. Closer to clarity, closer to movement, closer to something that's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about your path and your potential. So don't ignore this moment. Don't brush this off as just another video, just another message, just another passing thought. Because it's not. This is one of those rare moments where something clicks, where something begins, and it begins with awareness. The awareness that your situation is not permanent. The awareness that something bigger is unfolding. The awareness that what you've been waiting for might already be on its way. But what is coming next will reveal why everything in your life had to happen this way. You've been wondering why money has been so difficult, but there is a reason you couldn't see before. You felt it, didn't you? That constant pressure, that quiet anxiety sitting in your chest when you think about bills, responsibilities, or the future. The moments where you tried your best, gave your all, and still, things didn't move the way you expected. Money came in slowly, or not at all. Opportunities looked promising, then disappeared just as quickly. And you were left asking the same question over and over again. Why is this happening to me? It wasn't just about money. It was about the feeling that no matter how hard you tried, something invisible was holding you back, like you were running but stuck in the same place, watching others move ahead, while you struggled to make sense of your own path. And that kind of delay, it does something to a person. It tests your patience, it shakes your confidence, it makes you question your worth. You started to doubt yourself. Maybe you thought you weren't doing enough, or maybe you felt like you weren't good enough. Maybe you blamed your decisions, your timing, or even your past. And in those quiet moments, when no one else was around, you felt the weight of it, wondering if things would ever change. But what if I told you there was a reason for every delay? Not a random reason, not something meaningless, but a deeper, intentional process that you couldn't fully understand while you were in it. Because sometimes, when your life is being prepared for something greater, things don't come easily, not because you're being punished, but because you're being positioned. You see, if everything had come to you quickly, if the money flowed easily, if every opportunity worked out without resistance, you might not have become the person you needed to be. You might not have developed the strength, the awareness, the discipline that's required for what's ahead. And that's the part no one talks about. The struggle wasn't just external, it was internal. It was shaping how you think about money, how you handle pressure, how you respond when things don't go your way. Every moment of lack, every delay, every closed door, it was refining something inside you, quietly, gradually, powerfully, even when it didn't feel like it. Think about how much you've learned during this time, how careful you've become, how aware you are now of what matters and what doesn't, how you've started to see things differently, not just chasing money, but questioning purpose, direction, meaning. That didn't happen by accident. That came from the struggle. And yes, it hurt. There were moments you felt embarrassed. Moments you compared yourself to others. Moments you felt like giving up. Like maybe this just wasn't your path. But something kept you going. Something deep inside refused to let you quit completely. That wasn't weakness. That was guidance. Because even in your lowest moments, you were being carried through a process you couldn't see. A process where things had to slow down so you could catch up spiritually. Where distractions had to be removed so you could focus. Where certain opportunities had to fall apart because they weren't aligned with where you're truly meant to go. It didn't feel like protection. It felt like rejection. But there's a difference. Rejections makes you think you're not enough. Protection removes what's not meant for you. And right now, when you look back, you might start to notice something. Some of the things you lost weren't stable to begin with. Some of the paths that didn't work out would have led you somewhere limiting. Some of the people or situations connected to your financial struggles were never meant to stay long-term. You weren't just being delayed, you were being redirected. And redirection is uncomfortable. It forces you into uncertainty. It makes you question everything, but it also opens doors you wouldn't have seen otherwise. That's where you are right now, in between what was and what's about to be. It may not look like much on the surface. It may still feel like you're waiting. But underneath it all, something is shifting. Something is aligning. Pieces are moving into place in ways you can't fully understand yet. And soon you will, because nothing you went through was random. Not the stress, not the waiting, not the moments you felt like you had nothing left. Every part of it had a purpose. Every part of it was building you into someone who can handle what's coming next. Not just receive it, but sustain it. And that changes everything, because when it finally arrives, it won't just be about money. It will be about who you've become along the way. What you went through wasn't loss. It was preparation for something far greater. What if every financial delay you faced was actually protecting you? Not punishing you, not ignoring you, but protecting you. I know that's hard to accept at first, because when you were in those moments, when the money wasn't coming, when the doors stayed closed, when everything felt stuck, it didn't feel like protection. It felt like silence, like absence, like being left behind, while everyone else moved forward. But look deeper. There were things you wanted so badly back then. Opportunities you prayed would work out. Deals you hoped would go through. Paths you thought were meant for you. And when they didn't happen, it hurt. You questioned everything. You asked, God, why bring me this close just to take it away? But what if it was never taken away? What if it was removed before it could break you? Because not every opportunity is a blessing, even if it looks like one in the moment. Some doors open just to test you. Some paths appear just to see if you'll chase something that isn't aligned with who you're becoming. And if those things had worked out, you might have stepped into something unstable, something temporary, something that looked good on the outside, but carried consequences you weren't ready for. Financial decisions that could have trapped you. partnerships that could have drained you, situations that would have taken more than they gave. So instead, you were delayed, not denied, protected. And while it looked like nothing was happening, everything was happening. Because during that time, you were being taught patience in a world that rushes everything. Taught discipline when it would have been easier to give up. Taught awareness so you could recognize what's truly meant for you and what's not. You were learning how to handle lack so that when abundance comes, it doesn't control you. You were learning how to survive uncertainty so that when stability arrives, you don't take it for granted. And most importantly, you were learning how to trust, not blindly, not perfectly, but deeply. Even when you didn't have proof, even when things didn't make sense, even when every logical part of you wanted to walk away and say, "This isn't working," but you didn't. Something kept you holding on. And that something was purpose. Because God doesn't just give you what you ask for. He prepares you for what you're meant to carry. And sometimes that preparation feels like loss. It feels like delay. It feels like being overlooked. It feels like being stuck, while everyone else seems to be progressing. But what you couldn't see was the weight of what's ahead of you, and how unprepared you would have been if it came too soon. Timing matters, not just for the opportunity, but for you. Who you are when it arrives will determine what you do with it. That's why things had to slow down. That's why certain things had to fall apart. That's why you had to go through moments where you had to figure things out on your own, where you had to sit with your thoughts, face your fears, and rebuild your mindset from the inside out. Because external success without internal readiness never lasts, and you weren't meant for something temporary. You was being prepared for something that stays, something that grows, something that aligns with your purpose, not just your desires. That's why your journey looks different. That's why your timing feels delayed. That's why your path hasn't been easy. Because it's not ordinary. And deep down, you've always known that. You felt it in those quiet moments. That sense that your life is leading somewhere meaningful, even when you couldn't see how. That feeling that all of this, every struggle, every delay, every unanswered question, is part of something bigger than you. You weren't being blocked. You were being built, layer by layer, moment by moment, experience by experience, into someone who can recognize, receive, and sustain what's coming next. And now, when you look back, even just a little, you might start to see it differently. The delays weren't empty. The waiting wasn't wasted. The struggle wasn't meaningless. It was intentional. It was necessary. It was guiding you, step by step, into alignment with something you couldn't have handled before. And now, the moment you've been unknowingly preparing for is closer than ever. There is a shift happening right now, and it's about to change your financial reality. You may not see it yet. You may not hear anything different, notice anything obvious, or feel like something major is happening on the surface. But beneath everything, something is moving, quietly, precisely, at the right time, because shifts like this don't announce themselves loudly. They begin in silence. They begin in the unseen, in places you can't track, in moments you almost overlook, and then suddenly, everything changes. A door opens that wasn't there before. An idea turns into something real. A connection appears at exactly the right time, and what once felt impossible becomes undeniable. That's the kind of shift approaching your life. Not small, not ordinary, but something that touches your financial reality in a way that feels almost surreal. The kind of change that makes you pause and think, this is what all of that was for, because it won't come the way you expect. It won't follow the path you tried to force before. In fact, it may arrive through something completely different. Something you hadn't even considered, a new direction, a new opportunity, a new way of seeing what's been in front of you this whole time. That's how these shifts work. They don't just bring change. They bring clarity. Suddenly, things start making sense. The delays, the confusion, the moments you felt stuck, they begin to connect, and you realize that what you thought was holding you back was actually positioning you for something better, something aligned. And when that alignment hits, things move fast, faster than you're used to. Opportunities start appearing back to back. Conversations lead somewhere meaningful. Decisions become clearer. And there's a momentum that builds, almost like life is finally flowing with you instead of against you. You won't have to chase it. You'll recognize it, because it will feel different from anything you've experienced before. There will be a sense of calm in the middle of it. A quiet knowing that this is right, that this is meant for you. Not forced, not rushed, just aligned. And that's where the breakthrough begins. Not just in your bank account, but in your mindset. Because when you start seeing things differently, when you start trusting the process instead of fighting it, when you stop operating from fear and start moving with clarity, everything shifts. That's when blessings start to flow. Not as random luck, but as a result of alignment. And yes, some of it will feel sudden. Things you waited months or even years for can start to unfold in moments. Doors that stayed closed for so long can open without warning. And the same life that once felt slow and uncertain can suddenly feel full of movement and possibility. But here's the deeper part. This shift isn't just about receiving more. It's about becoming more. Because the opportunities coming into your life will require a different version of you. A version that's ready to act, ready to decide, ready to step forward without hesitation. And that version of you has been forming this whole time, through the struggle, through the waiting, through every moment you thought nothing was happening. You were being shaped into someone who could handle this level of change, this level of opportunity, this level of responsibility. That's why it had to take time. That's why it couldn't happen earlier, because if it did, you might have missed it, misused it, or lost it just as quickly as it came. But now, things are different. You are different. You see things with more awareness. You move with more intention. You understand things on a deeper level, and that changes how you receive what's coming. This isn't just a random moment. It's a turning point. A moment where everything begins to shift in your favor, not because of luck, but because of alignment, preparation, and timing coming together all at once. And when it arrives, you'll know. Not because someone tells you, but because everything inside you will recognize it. But there is one thing you must understand before this shift arrives. You are not watching this by accident. You were chosen to receive this message. Out of all the noise, all the distractions, all the paths you could have taken today, you ended up here, right now, hearing these words, and that matters more than you think. Because when you look back at your journey, it starts to make sense in a way it never did before. The struggle you went through, it wasn't random. Those nights you felt overwhelmed. Those days you questioned everything. Those moments where your finances didn't reflect your effort. They weren't signs that you were failing. They were signs that something deeper was happening within you. You were being stretched, shaped, and prepared in ways that couldn't be seen on the surface. You were learning endurance when things felt heavy. You were building faith when nothing made sense. You were discovering strength in moments where giving up seemed easier. And even when you didn't realize it, you kept going. That matters because most people stop in the middle of the process. They walk away when things don't move fast enough. They lose belief when results don't show up immediately. But you didn't fully let go. Something inside you kept holding on, even if it was just a small spark. And that spark is what brought you here. Through the delays, you were being prepared. Through the confusion, you were being guided. Through the waiting, something inside you was aligning with what's meant for you. And now, you're standing at the edge of a shift. Not just any shift, but one that's going to change how you see your life, your path, and, yes, your finances. A shift that will make you realize that nothing you went through was wasted. Not a single moment, not a single setback, not a single tear. It all had a purpose. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are chosen. Chosen to walk a path that required more patience. Chosen to carry something that needed more preparation. Chosen to experience a transformation that most people will never fully understand. And being chosen doesn't mean it's easy. It means it's meaningful. It means there's something greater connected to your life. Something that required you to go through everything you've been through so you could be ready for what's coming next. So now, this is your moment. A moment to shift your mindset. A moment to stop looking at your past as loss and start seeing it as preparation. A moment to stand in faith, even if you don't see the full picture yet. Because you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be ready. Ready to receive. Ready to act. Ready to step into what's been waiting for you. And that readiness, it starts with belief. Belief that something is changing. Belief that your time is coming. Belief that everything you've been through is about to make sense in a way that will leave you speechless. So don't doubt this moment. Don't ignore what you feel right now. Lean into it. Hold onto it. Because this message didn't find you by accident. If you feel this in your heart, if something inside you is telling you this is real, this is meant for you, then I want you to do something simple but powerful. Comment Amen below, not just as a word, but as a declaration that you're ready. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Because this is just the beginning. And like and share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Because you're not the only one going through this shift. Remember, everything you went through was building you for this moment, and what's coming next will prove that it was all worth it.